McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
Safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back. Today I have a special guest with me breaking down the 53-man roster, talking about the Brett Kern news and some of the, well, we can say, I wouldn't say, I mean, just the Brett news, you know, the Brett Kern news. We'll talk about the 53-man roster, who made it, who didn't make it, and my special guest for today is the gentleman named Mike Herndon. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. If no one knows who this guy is, you guys need to check him out on Twitter. Again, writes with the Titans, likes, again, good stuff, really good with information, knows his stuff. It's not someone who's just rambling all like me. This man knows what he's talking about. Again, works with Paul Kaharski, and he's a columnist. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And let's kind of just break it down, you know, yesterday and today, what's going on with the Tennessee Titans, man.
Yeah, so I guess like the biggest news with the 53 to me was, you know, it started with Kern, which, you know, I guess that really happened the day before cut down day, so it kind of got its own day. But Kern being released and then going with Stonehouse was not necessarily a surprise. Like I've felt like I was pretty early on championing the idea that it could be a real battle, and that Stonehouse and Kern were really pretty close in the competition, and it ended up going that way. So the Titans got young, they got a huge leg, and I think they got a guy that could potentially be the next Brett Kern, right? And instead of trying to hang on to one more year of you know, the guy that they've had.
Yeah, it seems like that's the direction, you know, John Robinson's going for, you know, obviously younger, cheaper, right? And he does have a leg, and again, I mean, it happened. He won the position, and it's not something that I think a lot of fans. It wasn't like a Jarrell Casey move. I mean, Jarrell Casey thing hurt a lot of fans there. It sucks, you know, being a fan and you get sucked into these players, and you know, you grow a bond with them. But I mean, Brett Kern, we kind of saw it coming. You know, we kind of saw it. We didn't want to really like recognize it. We're like, yeah, it could happen. I don't think we realized it was that quick. I think people wanted to give him another year and kind of be like, you know, sit on it. But I mean, that's why John Robinson has to make those decisions, you know. That's why we as fans can't.
Yeah, well, and you know, I think Robinson's shown that he's generally going to be a year early than a year late to let a guy go, and he's had a pretty good track record when these guys over 30 that are on contracts with the Titans do get moved on, like Jarrell Casey, like Malcolm Butler, you know, those types of guys. Usually he's pretty dead on as far as, you know, that guy's getting to the end of the road here and it's time. So he's got a pretty good feel for that, and I'll trust him on this one, especially. And I think the biggest thing, you know, if it was anyone else that had come in for the punter competition, maybe it wouldn't have happened this year, because I still think Kern probably has at least a good year left in him. But Stonehouse, to me, like, it was more about not being able to let him go. Because he has a special leg. Like, he kicks the ball like few punters do.
Yeah.
And you know, I think some of the directional stuff will come with time for him, but it's you aren't going to be able to you can't develop a guy's leg into what he's already got naturally. So he's an exciting prospect from a punter standpoint, which is you know, rare to say about punters.
Right? It's crazy how, like, you know, people are so excited for a punter. But
Yeah. Usually the guy you dread seeing on the field.
Exactly. Not the case in Tennessee. What are the news about Brett Kern? I know there was something that someone was on the radio talking about with his dad. If you can fill everyone in, whoever hasn't heard that.
Yeah, so I think it was his dad actually was on a local radio station in Buffalo, and was talking about, I guess they were asking him about what Brett's plans were and everything, and it sounds like he is not planning to sign in Buffalo. And I'm getting this secondhand. I didn't actually get to hear the radio report, but it's according to the what's been relayed is that it's sounding like Kern's preference may be to stick around in Tennessee and kind of and that the Titans are pushing him to just hang out and basically be ready in case things go awry with Stonehouse for some reason, or if they look, I mean, Kern missed 3 games each of the last 2 years, and we saw the kind of disaster that replacing a punter mid-season can be. So having a guy sitting on the couch just down the road from you who and trust and is ready to was extremely valuable, obviously, to the Titans. And from Kern's standpoint, he's got a family. He's been here for 14 years. I mean, the guy is definitely settled here. Does he really want to go punt for 4 months in Buffalo in the middle of winter and be with his family during that time and all that, or does he want to chill here in Nashville, get some family time in, and then maybe be called upon to punt if something happens to Stonehouse? So I think it's a real possibility, and it would obviously be a best case scenario for Titans fans if they still got to have Kern kind of on the back burner and available in case something happens.
What do you think that puts in the mindset of kind of like Stonehouse, like now his position, if he hears it?
I think, I've seen some people suggest that maybe it's not a big vote of confidence in Stonehouse, but to me, it's like, of course they want Kern to hang out and not go punt for a rival. I mean, I think they still think he's a good punter, but I think they don't want him to go to Buffalo if they can help it, a team that they are rivals with in the AFC that they will play in week 2, and I'm sure that they hope they are contending with for in the playoffs later in the season. So that one, I don't think they want them to go to a rival, and then 2, it's of course you'd rather have like a former All-Pro punter sitting around waiting to help, even if you had all the confidence in the world in Stonehouse. You'd love to have a good backup plan just sitting there. So I don't think it's any indication on Stonehouse. I think it's just, of course, they want that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a win-win situation for the Titans.
Yeah, no doubt.
Who are some of the cuts that happened that you were surprised about?
I think the first few that jump out to me were Theo Jackson, the safety. I kind of figured he'd get the benefit of the doubt and make it on the 53-man roster. But I think what's clear now is that all that shuffling that John Robinson did towards the end of training camp was a reflection of them not really fully trusting him just yet. And they ended up keeping AJ Moore and Lonnie Johnson and Joshua Kalu at safety as kind of the depth guys behind Byard and Hooker. And they got Jackson back on the practice squad. So at the end of the day, really kind of no harm, no foul there as far as Jackson's future with the team. He still gets to practice and develop. And, I'm sure the idea would be that hopefully next year or maybe even later this year, he can
develop into a player.
He was a little bit of a surprise. I was surprised that they let go of David Aneni, who's kind of same case, really flashed big time in the preseason, had 3 sacks, was a kind of standout performer for them. And they also paid him more guaranteed money than any of the other undrafted rookies that they brought in. So they clearly liked him a lot. And again, he does get back to the practice squad. So again, you get to stash him, you get to keep working with him, develop him. So it's a win-win for them at the end of the day, but I was a little surprised that they let those 2 guys be exposed to waivers, given the potential upside that both of them have.
Gotcha. Now, what about let's talk about the wide receiver core now, because again, looking at it, they went with 5 wide receivers. A lot of people are saying that he's going to end up bringing someone in to free agency, which I understand, which could help. I really think we should be rolling with 6 wide receivers again. Last year it was very hard. Injury bug played us big time, and I just feel like I've been saying this since the beginning. I would want a veteran wide receiver. Now I don't know what's out there. I mean, people are talking about Will Fuller. Yeah, he gets hurt a lot, but so did Julio Jones and AJ Brown. So just another veteran wide receiver would be really nice. What do you think about the wide receiver core right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the two, I feel like, shakiest positions on the roster. I think it's wide receiver and offensive line that are kind of the spots that you really, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's guaranteed to be bad. It's just that we don't know because, Robert Woods is a new player coming off of an ACL injury. Nick Westbrook-Akine has been here, but he's being asked to play a larger role than he has in the past. And then you got 2 rookies in Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips that are going to be a big part of this offense, and we just don't know what they're going to look like in game action. So it's a lot of question marks. I think the number, of them keeping 5 wasn't necessarily that surprising to me, just because I don't know. I just didn't feel like Des Fitzpatrick or Mason Kinsey or Reggie Roberson really stood out enough to force their hand to kind of have that extra spot there. And they got all those guys back on the practice squad as well. So those guys are still kind of available and can be promoted for game days and that kind of thing, which I think they will be at points during the season. But another veteran wide receiver would be nice, but I kind of think at this point, we're a week and a half away from week 1.
Mm-hmm.
To bring in a new guy would be, and get them up to speed would be kind of difficult, I feel like. So I kind of think they're going to roll with this group that they've got. There's not a ton of guys out there. Fuller, to me, I've gone back and forth on him. I do think he makes sense skill set wise. I do feel like the fact that he's still not on an NFL roster, he might just not be touchable for a lot of NFL teams for whatever reason. I don't know if there's a word around the league that, he's a problem or anything like that, or what the deal is, or if it's just the injuries. It could just be the injuries. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of think it would have happened already if that was going to happen. Guys like Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, veterans could come in and help, but honestly, I don't know that I would want them taking snaps away from Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips. So it's going to be interesting to see how this group looks, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the group for the year.
Yeah, you think that John Robinson, again, he makes moves constantly, and maybe it's a feeling out process too. Week 1, again, it's not an AFC. It's not an AFC team or anything like that. I mean, not that we want to lose, but it wouldn't hurt if we lost. You get me? And you still have that where you can still try them out and see how they work together.
Sure. And I could potentially see, there's still the trade market going on. As we just saw, Rager got moved from the Eagles to the Vikings just a few moments ago as we're recording this. And guys like Darius Slayton, guys like Denzel Mims, who were kind of like on the fringes with their current teams, that could be helpful for the Titans from a depth standpoint. I could see the Titans trying to get in on guys like that to maybe add some depth there. So I wouldn't totally shut the door on the idea of an addition, but I think as the days go on, I buy more and more that they're just ready to roll with these young guys.
Gotcha. What about the running back position? Again, I think we picked up 4, right? We have 4. So
5 if you include Carter. Yeah.
Yep. So what do you think about that?
It's a higher number than I expected. I mean, that was I thought 4 was almost certainly going to be the number. I kept trying to, I like Julius Chestnut a lot. I really thought he showed some talent, and he's a guy, and he's a little different than Mekhi Sargent was kind of the UDFA running back du jour last year that everyone was excited about. But I feel like Chestnut to me is a little bit different just because of his build at 5'11", 228 pounds. I mean, the guy is a bowling ball, and he's got some quick feet in the hole. So he's got a skill set that I think is good at the NFL level and could really translate. And the guy was hyper productive at Sacred Heart. Like he was averaging about 200 yards from scrimmage per game before he got hurt his final year there. So, small school and all that reason why he didn't get drafted, but there's some real ability there. And I kind of went back and forth at some points during preseason about, is it going to be Haskins or is it going to be Chestnut? For that fourth role, they ended up choosing to go with both. I don't know if that'll stay that way for the entire season. You can't imagine that they're going to all five be active on game days. So once injuries start to mount up and once, there's a little bit more pressure on the numbers on the roster, could you see maybe one of those guys get waived and try to get back on the practice squad? I could see it, but I'm not entirely convinced that it would be Chestnut that would be waived.
Really?
Haskins. Yeah, I think it's close between those two, the way the Titans view them.
Nice. And just in general about now, what do we expect for Titan fans? What do you expect after the 53-man roster? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of changes. What just kind of give us a guideline and give us your ideas, bro.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot to be excited about here, and it starts on defense for me, which is something that we haven't been able to say for at least probably 5 or 6 years, as far as the Titans' defense being a reason for optimism. They are deep on defense, virtually everywhere except for, I'd say, inside linebacker. Inside linebacker, you can question the depth there, but they've got guys all over the place in the secondary, up front. The pass rush, I feel like was a strength at the end of last season, and going into this year could be even better with a healthy Bud Dupree and another year of
Weaver, yep.
Landry and Simmons and Rashad Weaver, and then even guys like Tier Tart, who were flashing in the preseason consistently. DeMarcus Walker, who I think is a really nice situational pass rusher that now they can throw into the mix. He's probably the 6th or 7th best pass rusher on this team, and he had, I think, 4.5 sacks a season ago. So it's a really deep and exciting defense. I think they have a chance, and I'm shocked that they haven't been picked up on nationally more as a defense that could threaten as one of the best in the league. You constantly see them kind of as they'll be okay. Yeah. These guys terrorized Joe Burrow in that playoff game, and there's only reason to think that they'll be better. I mean, McCreary has been fantastic as a rookie corner. Caleb Farley showing flashes of being the guy that they hoped he would be when they drafted him in the first round a year ago. There's a lot of reason for optimism here, and I think it has a chance to be the best defense in the NFL, bar none. So that's kind of where I'm at on the defense. The offense, a lot more question marks.
Yeah,
fine. Agree. Left guard, you don't know what you're going to get. Right tackle, you're starting a rookie, which is almost bound to see some growing pains almost on a weekly basis. The tight end group is way, way better than it was last year. Austin Hooper, Chig Okonkwo, I think, are both going to be a big difference from what they had last year. But then the wide receivers, like we talked about, so many question marks. I'm still a big Treylon Burks fan. And I think it was just a glimpse, right? That last preseason game. But when he caught the touchdown pass over the middle from Malik Willis, it wasn't like it was a spectacular route or anything really special that Burks did. It was a slant. But as he accelerated into the end zone, I thought you just saw like this burst from him that is so special from a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", 225 pounds. And I think what people are sleeping on with Treylon Burks is I think he's going to be a deep threat in this offense. I think he's going to be a deep threat right away. I think he is going to be a guy that makes big plays for them, that brings back some of those explosive pass plays that they have really been missing on offense, at least last year. It was a trademark for them in 2019 and even in 2020. It was really part of the engine of why this offense was so good during that time period, and it kind of disappeared last year. So I think Burks has a chance to bring that back in a big way. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to be able to get on the field, all that stuff. But he's going to have a package right away, and I think he could be a playmaker for them even early in the season.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Again, thank you so much, Mike, for your insight. Appreciate all your work. your writing and stuff. It's amazing. And guys, if you guys haven't followed him, I'll put the Twitter link and all that stuff for the social medias for you. And I just want to say thank you so much, man. Keep doing what you're doing, because again, like, I'm a fan of you, man. It's your stuff's amazing, and like I said, we talked about earlier before. It's honest and right on point, man. So
really appreciate the kind words, man. It's I enjoy doing it, so I like interacting with people. So find me on there, interact. We'll have fun.
There you go, man. All right. Well, I appreciate it, man, and I hope you have a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen.